Welcome to NarrativeNook audio tales where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
Yet, Martin also inexplicably felt sad inside. So Dad would rather listen to this ambitious woman than to listen to his own son's words. All these years, his father, Sebastian Wyance, was extremely strict with him, yet he was so kind to that woman and her child and gave that child a lot of money for his expenses. Yet, Sebastian had never been so kind to him before. Thinking of this, Martin felt even more distressed. He was already in a bad mood today and did not expect his father to land another critical blow on him. He had always disliked talking to his stepmother, so he just said, "Remember to tell Dad to do what I told him." Since the McCarthy family wanted to work together with the Riddle family on that new project, he would help her get that as long as it did not harm Nicole. Once done, Joyce would no longer keep bugging him about her family members like a haunting ghost. Martin's stepmother was clearly not happy being treated so brusquely, so she quickly asked, "Martin, what's the matter?" After saying that, his stepmother realized that she was being quite barefaced about it, so she tried to cover things up. "Martin, don't go thinking wildly. I'm just afraid that I might not be able to send the complete message and affect the affair that concerns the two of you." Martin, however, snorted and said sneeringly, "What do my affairs have anything to do with you? Let me give you a word of advice. Pack up and leave my home." As he said that, he immediately hung up. A peaceful night passed by. Nicole got up the next day to jog with Zeke and Austin. Sammy and the others came to join in the fun. Seeing the two were almost on par with each other, Nicole smiled softly. The two had improved rapidly and should not have any problems protecting themselves now. They were keen students and would ask Nicole about ways to disarm a technique from time to time. Nicole patiently answered their questions, and Zeke immediately took out a pen and paper to write them down. Austin also listened intently as he started to perform the technique. He very rarely noted things down and found that remembering things on the spot was much more practical. Under Nicole's guidance, Austin felt that his thinking became much more agile. Back then, he had tried many disarming techniques but found it difficult to break through Zeke's evolving techniques, and after Nicole pointed it out to him again, he suddenly felt enlightened. Nicole's thoughts were straight to the point. They cut out all other trivial matters like a blade and struck in the most direct manner to catch her opponent. She had a terrifying talent in martial arts, but in Austin's view, what was most valuable was her keen, almost instinctual rational intuition. She could focus and gain insight into everything, and this was something others could never achieve in a lifetime. The more Austin and Zeke mingled with Nicole, the more they found her unfathomable. They felt that they were like a sponge being left in the vast, endless ocean, but what they could absorb was only the tip of the iceberg. The distance between Nicole and them was like a chasm that could never be bridged. Zeke had thought that he had seen through Nicole and now felt that she was even more unfathomable than he had initially thought. Nicole looked at the two as they were very quiet and taciturn today. From the moment she started to talk about the techniques, Zeke started writing and did not even lift his head up while Austin was practicing it for fear of forgetting the new technique she had just taught him. Seeing the two being so hardworking, she sighed in delight. "It's so rare to see the two of you being so serious today." Zeke did not react as he quickly noted down the last of her lecture and did not even look up at all. "The two of you have no problems protecting yourselves now, so just train between yourself from tomorrow onwards." As she said that, a glint appeared in her eyes as she looked glad. Yet, Austin felt an inexplicable chill from the back of his neck as he looked at Nicole's focused eyes and saw that she really did not want to teach them anymore. Austin immediately retorted, "No way. We've only learned the basics." Austin thought, "I am not done learning, so how can Nicole stop teaching me?" Seeing his reluctant face, Nicole smiled helplessly. "What's the point of learning so many combat techniques? The techniques you know right now are more than enough. It's not like you're in the army. Focus on your studies, and don't keep thinking of fighting." Austin looked at Nicole, and an indescribable look appeared in his eyes. It's not that I want to fight." Nicole was the strongest person he had ever seen in the Royal Creek Institute. He really did not know whom he should learn martial arts from if Nicole did not teach him anymore. His heart set, Austin said determinedly as he looked Nicole in the face. "I really want to learn martial arts, and maybe join the army or the special forces in the future, to be someone useful to society. When Zeke heard Austin saying something so absurd just to have Nicole continue to teach him, he could not help but laugh. Austin, you're overestimating yourself, no? With your level, it's impossible for you to get into the special forces. Zeke's father, Carlo Guzman, was in the army, so he knew the requirements for the troops best. Who do you think you are? Austin glared at Zeke, a little angry at the latter poking fun at him. When Zeke heard this, he was even more amused as he looked at the furious Austin and said, Austin, you don't know who I am. If you want to join the special forces, I might actually have a say in that. Zeke crossed his arms over his chest, acting like a big shot. Nicole could not stand that and smacked Zeke at the back of the head. Oh, don't you go acting full of yourself. Carlo was a proper man of his own mind. There was no way he would listen to his son. Seeing Nicole now demolishing him instead, Zeke's movements became somewhat stiff. An awkward look appeared in his eyes. I'm not. I really do know the requirements for being a special force soldier. When Austin heard that, he could not help but be curious as he asked, how do you know? Yet Zeke only cast an icy gaze over. Speak a word more, and I'll make sure you lie down there. He said that as he snarled inwardly, Nicole wouldn't have scolded me if you didn't run your mouth, idiot. Austin was dumbfounded and piped down as he continued to train. He dared not ask any more questions, but the seeds of suspicion had budded within him. This bastard, Zeke. He seems like someone with quite the background. Who is he exactly? However, Austin quickly recomposed himself. If I have time to worry about him, I might as well worry about Boss. What will I do if Boss really doesn't want to teach me anymore? Without Boss's teaching, will a young talent like I get buried? Thinking of this, Austin pulled back his wandering thoughts as he focused his gaze on Nicole, hoping that she would change her mind. However, Nicole seemed to have made up her mind, and no matter how Austin looked at her, she did not react. After morning practice, Nicole returned to the classroom. Lulu was the busiest on Monday mornings because she was a course representative responsible for collecting everyone's homework. Seeing that Nicole was still unfazed after being the class rep, Lulu could not help but sigh, why are you not as busy as me even after you became class rep? Back then, when Vivian was a class rep, she would always issue orders as if she was very busy. Yet, Nicole was different, and she was very free on the first Monday after she took the position. There's nothing much. I'll go into the details of the sports meet after Ms. Emerson announces it. Sports meet? Lulu's eyes widened as she heard that and said as if she recalled something. Oh yeah, right. It's the sports meet around this month. How did you get shoved with this crap right after you took up the position? Hearing Lulu's snarky remark, Nicole could not help but frown. Is it that difficult? Lulu immediately nodded. Of course. Just think, the Royal Creek Institute is focused on studies and results, and people would take part in some famous competitions, but the sports meet is both a thankless and pointless matter, so most of the class don't like participating in it. Back then, it was Vivian who would preside over the sports meet as she coaxed or even threatened people to join one of the events. Nicole had only just taken up the position and did not know about this, much less force everyone to participate. I see. Nicole only said that before turning to her books. How are you not panicking? Seeing that Nicole was still unperturbed, Lulu panicked in her stead. Some things are just pointless to fret over. Things will work themselves out. Don't worry. Nicole smiled and asked Lulu to calm down. Lulu calmed down somewhat. Nicole is different from Vivian. Perhaps she could really find a way. As she said that, she saw Vivian walking into the classroom. After avoiding her for a few days, Vivian finally returned to class for fear of falling behind in class. When she stepped into the classroom, she gave Nicole a bitter glance, but her temper was not as fiery as before. Seeing that she was behaving, Lulu did not say much. Soon, Ms. Emerson came in and announced the sports meet. When everyone heard about it, it was a sea of sighs. Ah, this year's sports meet is half a month earlier than the last one. Yeah, I don't want to participate. I'm not feeling well. Ms. Emerson knew about the situation in her class too. But this was a sports meet organized by the school. It did not make sense if no one participated. At this moment, she looked at Nicole and asked, Nicole, Do you have any ideas? Miss Emerson had no ideas and could only ask if Nicole had any other suggestions. When Vivian saw this, she could not help but feel a tinge of schadenfreude. Nicole's timing as class rep sure is unfortunate for her running straight into the sports meet. How could she, who just took up the position, handle something that I could not even get right well? I just need to wait until she slips up, and the class rep position will be mine again. While gleefully thinking of that, Vivian wished that Nicole would just say she had no idea. Yet, Nicole spoke after pondering for a moment. The sports meet this year is different from the previous ones. After all, it's the first sports meet after the school's centennial anniversary, so the Students' Council has set up an award system outside the prizes, but what exactly the system is or what the awards are is yet to be confirmed. Nicole spoke slowly, but her words stunned everyone. There are prizes? Everyone's eyes lit up. For real. This was something not seen in the previous sports meet. The previous sports meet only has prizes for the top 3, and there are additional prizes as well? Everyone looked at Nicole in disbelief, and she looked back at everyone. Although she had not brought the matter up with the Students' Council yet, she was confident that the matter would be approved as long as she spoke to Stanley. Thinking of this, she gave everyone a rare smile. It's true. Also, there are not only prizes for the top 3 but a commemorative award just by participating. Wow, awesome. Everyone knew that when it came to rewards and prizes, the Royal Creek Institute was extraordinary. Even their scholarships were far greater than most schools. So even a commemorative award would be some expensive luxury item. How could they miss out on that? Nicole narrowed her eyes at seeing everyone stirred up. Register now before places run out. Those students, who felt dejected just now, raised their hands at once. I want to take part. Me too. I will take part in the long jump. The class came alive instantly. Lulu did not expect Nicole to turn things around so quickly, arousing everyone's enthusiasm for the sports day in just one day. This was something that had never been seen before at the Royal Creek Institute. Vivian did not expect Nicole to be so smooth-spoken, persuading everyone with just a few words. In the past, she had to make people sign up for the sports day by using coercion and inducement tactics, sometimes having to pay out of her own pocket to do that, yet those people were still reluctant to take part. So she was upset when Nicole, who had just assumed the post, could do that effortlessly. When did the student union have a reward mechanism? Feeling with hatred, Vivian was itching to pour cold water on everyone's enthusiasm. Calm down, you all. When did the student union ever give out rewards? Nicole, are you trying to fool everyone into signing up for the sports day and then tell them there is no reward at all, or even if there is, it is just a piece of useless paper? Come on, just forget it. Vivian's sarcastic remark burst everyone's bubble of hope. Many of them calmed down and looked at Nicole. You didn't lie to us, did you, Nicole? Is there really a reward mechanism? What are the prizes? They threw a series of questions at Nicole, who could not help but squint. On stage, Ms. Emerson thought this was a little too much. Whether what Nicole said was true or not, she knew Nicole was trying her best for everyone. Are you all signing up for the sports day just because of rewards? Can't you all have a sense of collective honor? Everyone fell silent. Even Vivian did not dare to speak. But Ms. Emerson had not let Vivian go yet. Nicole has been making efforts to encourage everyone to take part in the sports day. If you are not helping, at least refrain from frustrating her effort. I know you're upset that Nicole took over as class monitor, but you can't target your classmate just because of that. Vivian did not expect Ms. Emerson to be so biased toward Nicole. Ms. Emerson not only questioned her but also exposed her jealousy of Nicole in front of everyone just because she had said something not too nice. She felt humiliated, biting her lips in indignation, and then was about to explain herself. Just then, Nicole smiled and interrupted Ms. Emerson. It's all right. I understand why Vivian thinks it's impossible. After all, she hadn't fought for everyone before. But I will strive for a better reward mechanism for everyone this time. It will not be just an empty talk, and the prizes will not disappoint everyone. Hearing Nicole's assurance and thinking of what Ms. Emerson had said, more people believed Nicole, as they realized Vivian had tried to sabotage Nicole's effort because of jealousy. We believe in you, Nicole. I will sign up for the relay race. Me too. I will sign up for the javelin throw. The rest of the people followed suit after a few of them took the lead in signing up for the sports day. Nicole smiled. Well, if anyone would like to sign up for the sports day, come to me for the registration form after class. Vivian was not too happy when Nicole successfully defused the crisis. But there was nothing she could do, as her teacher and classmates were now on Nicole's side. Realizing she had lost her place in the hearts of her classmates, she felt indescribably frustrated and hated Nicole even more. At the end of the day, Nicole had all the forms distributed, and everyone had signed up. When Nicole delivered the report to the student union, Stanley and Edwin, and the others were working on things. They were a little surprised to see that Nicole had gotten everyone signed up. Stanley was also surprised. Your class signed up so fast? The entire Royal Creek Institute, whether it was the high school or the college department, hated sports events. Everyone did not want to take part, and they would push the decision to the last day if they could. Yes. Nicole nodded and then asked, "Don't your classmates want to take part?" Stanley was helpless at the mention of this. Yeah, they're enthusiastic about everything except for sports day every year. Edwin could not help but interject. Our class is the same. They all are uncooperative. Most of them do not want to take part. Only Harvey and his classmates will take part because he is Mr. Ellison's grandson. But the other classes are in a similar situation to us. Nicole had a plan in mind upon hearing that. Edwin could not wait and asked, "Nicole, how on earth did you get them to sign up for the sports day so quickly? This is a record since the inception of the Royal Creek Institute." Nicole glanced at him and said calmly, "I told them that this year's sports day differs from previous years. Apart from the usual prizes, the student union will come up with a reward scheme." A reward scheme? Edwin looked at Stanley with surprise. Did you approve it? Stanley is the president of the student union. He was probably the only one who could decide. But they wondered why he did not tell them there was such a good scheme. Stanley was also baffled. "No, I haven't heard of a reward scheme at all." Edwin was stunned when the president did not even know. "Nicole, did you make a mistake or something?" Nicole shook her head. "No, the idea just came to me on a whim. I was thinking of discussing it with you while sending over the registration forms. Since all classes are reluctant to sign up for the sports day, why not propose a reward scheme to motivate them?" Only then did it dawn on Stanley and Edwin. Nicole had heard it correctly and was planning to act first and seek permission later. Edwin could not help but feel a little helpless. "We wish we could, but the student union has limited funding, and the Royal Creek Institute's reward program is of a very high standard every year. In other words, the student union could not come up with that much money." Nicole thought about it for a moment. It would be easy to deal with once the problem was understood. Stanley thought Nicole had run out of choice and was worried about her. "It's okay, Nicole. Let's proceed with that. We will pay for the rewards out of our own pockets." Nicole shook her head. "Since this is a school affair, how can we pay for it ourselves?" Stanley was stunned. "Then what else can we do?" Nicole then smiled shrewdly and whispered a few words into Stanley's ear. Before long, Stanley's gloomy expression turned bright. "This is a great idea." Looking at Stanley's surprised expression, Edwin could not help but get anxious, knowing that they had got a good plan. "What is it? Tell me." Nicole looked at Stanley. "You guys discuss it. I was just proposing it. You all are the ones implementing it. I will go now." "Okay." Stanley smiled, feeling more assured. Edwin could not hold back his curiosity. Seeing Nicole leave, he quickly grabbed Stanley. "What is so secretive? Tell me what idea Nicole has come up with." Stanley broke free of his grip. "Okay, I'll tell you." The two then discussed the plan together, and Edwin could not help but clap his hands exultantly. Nicole is awesome. Only she could think of such a way. It was sunset. Students were pouring out of the Royal Creek Institute. Those who did not live on campus got into their family cars and went home. In the cafe opposite the school, Martin was watching the students come out of the school. He just wanted to see the person he had been waiting for. He was happy to have just a glimpse of her. Since the last time Martin knew that Nicole was injured, he had been worried and thinking about her, even more so after the failure of the experiment. But they did not know each other well, and he could only find a way to create a chance encounter. There was no other shop opposite the Royal Creek Institute, so he could only wait in the cafe. Joyce was sitting next to him, and Martin found her a little too annoying. Had he known that she would come and disturb him, he would not have told her where he was. He was not in the mood to talk, but Joyce kept trying to find a topic to talk to him about. He just gave her a perfunctory reply. Seeing that Martin was not resenting, she continued to pester him, asking him to put in a good word for her family. Hearing her mention the project again, Martin was losing his cool and looking at Joyce with disgust. He was expressionless, thinking of giving Joyce a fair one. How could I not find out earlier that she was such an annoyance? Joyce did not notice that Martin was on the verge of losing his patience and still talked incessantly. Have you ever talked to Mr. Wyance? Do you know what was going on in his mind? Is he going to give the project to the Riddle family only? They can't possibly handle it. Martin saw her pretentious look and said nothing. He turned his gaze to the crowd outside, secretly fighting back his impulses. Keep cool, keep cool. Joyce saw Martin ignore her and leaned her face over again. You will make good on your promise, right, Martin? She thought she looked beautiful now, but Martin just wanted to punch her in the face and then throw her out the window. Martin looked back at her, gritting his teeth, and smiled as she leaned her face closer. If you say one more word, I will immediately ask my dad to give the project to the Riddle family. This worked better than fists. Joyce was frightened and shut up at once. But she kept complaining in her mind that Martin did not know how to treat a woman properly. He isn't even interested in such a pretty woman like me and shows his cold attitude. He deserves to be single for the rest of his life. Thinking of this, Joyce secretly stole a glance at Martin, who was looking out of the window. She felt a little shy at seeing his handsome face. He still looks pretty handsome when he is not angry with me. He might have a sharp tongue and bad temper, but he still treats me well, basically agreeing to any request I ask, and would not put me on the spot. So, even if he is bad-tempered, I think I can still accept it. Such a man will treat his wife well after he gets married, right? Joyce was smitten at the thought of this. She was in a daze, thinking about her future with Martin, and then about the bits and pieces she had spent with Martin before. She and he had been schoolmates since childhood, at the Royal Creek Institute and also at Yamenia. Even though they had left school and were working as doctors at San Joto Central Hospital, people called them the tag team of San Joto. Just as she was the only female researcher in Martin's research, he had never allowed other girls to approach him. Joyce felt indescribably sweet when she thought of this. She was almost certain that Martin liked her. They had similar interests and compatible personalities, even their professions so perfectly matched. He might have a quirky temper, but she was willing to put up with him. She was sure that she would be the woman who understood him the most in the world and that Martin could never meet another woman like her. The crowd outside had dispersed, and Martin did not hear Joyce's voice again. He was a little surprised that Joyce could shut up so obediently for so long. Had I known this earlier, I would have threatened her this way. Martin had finished his coffee and still did not get to see the person he wanted to see. He sighed and turned to look at the woman next to him, only to get startled by her look. Joyce was resting her chin on her hand with her elbow on the table, staring at him with a look of infatuation on her face. Seeing him look over, she winked at him with a shy face. Oh my God! Martin shrank back a little, trying to keep a distance from this woman. This is scary. I was too naive. I should have known that this woman would not stay quiet and do nothing. She's just pulling another trick on me. Joyce began silent harassment of Martin, looking at him, seemingly wanting to say something. But Martin ignored her and just waited silently for the last few students to come out of the school. If the person did not show up, he would have to leave. After a few minutes, all students had left, and the school gate was closed, leaving only a side exit open. Martin sighed, knowing that he had no luck today. He got up in disappointment and strode toward the exit. Joyce stomped her feet in frustration as she gave chase but could not catch up with him. Just then, something came to mind, and she covered her face in shyness. Martin must be shy. He has never been in any relationship before. He must be shy in facing me after finding himself conquered by me. This must be the case. Martin did not know what Joyce was thinking. Had he known, he would not have hesitated to give her a punch in the face to sober her up and tell her to stop daydreaming. After paying his bill and just as he was walking toward the exit, he suddenly saw Nicole walk in. The person whom he had thought he could not see suddenly appeared and walked into the cafe in front of him. Martin was stunned. Nicole walked to the bar counter, wanting to order Claus a cup of coffee. When she saw Martin, she raised an eyebrow and said calmly, "What a coincidence to see you here." But Nicole was puzzled. The hospital where he works is in the city's north, which is a far distance from the Royal Creek Institute. So why did he come here for coffee? Yeah, what a coincidence. Martin was nervous, looking at Nicole, but could say nothing else. Even his face had reddened. Joyce caught up and saw Martin's blushed face. She could not help but frown, looking up ahead and spotted Nicole. "What are you doing here?" Joyce looked hostilely at her. Nicole frowned at seeing Joyce. When she looked again at how Joyce blocked Martin behind her, Nicole immediately knew that the two of them were acquainted. She raised an eyebrow and smiled. "This cafe is right opposite my school. I should be the one who asks what you are doing here." Joyce was startled and could not find a word to respond. She glanced back at Martin, who was also lost for words and looked as if his motive had been discovered. "What's going on? Martin has always been confident when facing me. Why is he looking so shy in front of this brat?" The thought of this rang an alarm bell in her. Joyce looked at Nicole with cold eyes. "We are here for coffee, of course. Is this cafe yours? Can't I come here?" No sooner had her voice trailed off than an icy voice sounded from behind her. "She doesn't own his cafe, but her boyfriend does." The magnetic voice caused the three of them to look over. Joyce saw a tall and handsome man, dressed in a spotless suit and leather shoes, coming down from the private lounge on the first floor. It was the cafe's VIP room, which even she and Martin had not been able to book. Who is this man? Joyce felt that the man was familiar, as if she had seen him before. Martin's expression turned grave the moment he saw Jared. He just did not expect that Jared was really everywhere. But after hearing what Jared said, he immediately understood something. It turned out that Jared was the owner of the cafe while he and Joyce were the interlopers. But Martin still said hello to Jared. After the last time they had met, he already learned from the hospital CEO who Jared was. He was the heir to the Johnston Group, with whom even the grandson of the future governor could not afford to mess. He clenched his hands at the thought of this. Jared noticed the look in Martin's eyes, but he ignored it and walked past him and Joyce to come to Nicole. "What would you like today?" Nicole smiled. "Anything, as long as it is you who makes it." As soon as the two of them met, the glaring look of them being a match made in heaven stung the eyes of others. Joyce came to her senses and realized that Nicole and this handsome man were a couple, and the cafe belonged to this man. "I will make it for you." Jared smiled dotingly at Nicole as he reached out, wrapped an arm around Nicole's waist, and shot a glance at Martin as if declaring sovereignty. Martin clenched his hands even tighter, his fingernails almost sinking into the flesh. It was a feeling he had never experienced before in his life. He wished he could pull Nicole over to himself now. Why? Why did I meet such a nice girl so late? Joyce seemed to feel Martin's frustration and was jealous of Nicole. She found that the man beside Nicole was almost more handsome than Martin, and the way he dressed was just as classy, as if not classier than Martin was. She is just a little girl. Why is such an excellent man willing to be with her? While Joyce was in a daze, Jared's eyes landed on her. He had just glanced at her, but Joyce's heart pounded uncontrollably. Her heart skipped a beat when she saw the frosty look in his eyes. Why did he look at me like that? Joyce was too frightened to utter a sound. Then Jared said in an icy voice, "This is my cafe. Anyone who offends my girlfriend is not welcome here. You are not welcome here next time." His knife-like words pierced into her heart. Joyce felt a chill running up her spine, and she could not find a word to respond. Jared did not look at Martin at all as she brought Nicole straight to where they used to sit. Before leaving, she politely nodded at Martin. Only then did she go without looking back again. After all, they were not that close to each other. All Martin wanted was to meet Nicole, not expecting that she would follow Jared away after he had just seen her for a few seconds. His heart sank watching the two of them sit down together, all his anticipation and excitement dissipating at once. He was left with the feeling of suffocation, as if a large rock was pressing against his chest. Martin could no longer stand it. He spun around and left the cafe at once. Martin. Joyce came to her senses and immediately ran after him. Silence finally returned in the cafe. Jared was grinding the coffee and looking on as Martin and Joyce left. He then casually asked, "Did that guy come to see you?" Nicole frowned. "No. I didn't know they were here." The last thing she wanted was to see Joyce. "Oh yeah." Jared's eyes darkened. His cafe was not on a thoroughfare, so he wondered why anyone would come to his cafe, which was across the street from the Royal Creek Institute. Martin must be up to something. Meanwhile, Nicole had Joyce in mind at this point. "Could you please check out for me what project the McCarthy family has been eyeing recently?" She found out yesterday that the McCarthy family wanted to work with the Riddle family, but it was not clear what the project was. As Joyce and Martin seemed to be close, Joyce could lobby Martin, who would influence Sebastian, then it would inevitably affect Sebastian's decision. So Nicole figured she had better discuss it with her parents to see if the Riddle family really wanted the project. If the Riddle family was going for it, she would fight for it. She trusted that Sean and Steve had the capability and would not embarrass Sebastian. What is the project that the McCarthy family is after? Jared pondered for a moment and then remembered something. It's a big order from Macrunia, a new energy project. If they can get the project, they would recoup the loss of the land they lost before. Nicole's eyes darkened. I didn't know that they were after this. Well, it's a shame that almost no domestic company can handle this massive project alone. Yet the McCarthy family is eyeing it. They are biting off more than they can chew. Jared smirked, not taking the McCarthy family seriously. Nicole looked at him and whispered, "So, Joyce came to me yesterday on behalf of the McCarthy family because she thought of working with the Riddle family to take on this mega project." Jared paused what he was doing for a second and then smiled. Interestingly, the McCarthy family is willing to come to terms with the Riddle family for the sake of the project. Nicole's eyes darkened even further. My dad once said the McCarthy family was narrow-minded. So I'm afraid that their willingness to come to terms with us is probably just a deception. Working with such people was always worrisome. Jared suddenly smiled when he saw Nicole's thoughtful look. I can help if the Riddle family wants to take on this project alone. Nicole subconsciously looked up at Jared and sighed. I didn't ask you for help. If the Riddle family really wants it, I'll do it by myself. Jared looked at Nicole's stubborn look and knew that she had her way. You are my girlfriend. Instead of letting you go working with someone else, I would rather you work with me. Nicole felt touched at seeing Jared's sincere look, but she still felt something not quite appropriate. As far as she knew, Johnston Group did not have any new energy business. If Jared wanted to help her take on the mega project, he would have a lot of work to do. Besides, he has a lot on his plate right now. Don't always think about helping me. You're up to your neck now. I don't want to distract you. Jared's eyes darkened upon hearing what Nicole said. You already knew it? While speaking, he handed her the ground coffee. Nicole took it and said, I only know what outsiders know. I don't know it all. Jared felt not too comfortable hearing her. You're not an outsider. I will tell you whatever you want to know. Nicole had felt Jared's sincerity and was really eager to know more about him. I want to know everything about you. She had never been this serious about anyone before, and she really wanted to know everything about Jared. There was a flash of emotion in Jared's eyes. Do you want to hear the story? Nicole looked curiously at Jared, not sure why he suddenly said that. It is a long story. He smiled with a hint of helplessness in his eyes. Nicole understood and immediately nodded. Of course I do. I want to hear everything about you. Looking at Nicole's sincere eyes, Jared let go of his inner guard and started to tell his story in a gentle voice. His story was simple but incredibly dark. There was a little boy in a large family. He enjoyed the love of his parents and the attention of others since birth. Jared's thoughts seemed to have traveled back in time. When his parents were still alive, he was the heir to the Johnston Group. Everyone seemed to revolve around him, and he thought everything would remain as rosy as it was until one day, his parents went out and never came back. He did not understand the meaning of death. only that people around him suddenly changed their faces and became indifferent to him, as if everything before was unreal. And in that cruel world, he felt like a fifth wheel, and no one cared about him. Finally, one day, when he was arguing with Castor and Murphy, he was beaten. Only then did he realize he was no longer the heir that everyone in the family cared about. The two siblings sneered at him, and behind them, the man who was his second uncle did not even say a word or reprimand his sons. He watched as his second uncle picked up his two kids and went back to their room. They were talking and laughing, and no one cared whether he was injured or not. He watched his second uncle smile perfectly in front of his grandfather before turning around, carrying him back to his room, and venting his anger on him by kicking him.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.